how do we become more effective leaders just because we are meditating and we are into mindfulness?
To make good decisions, you need to be calm, clear-minded.
This is a topic I think every leader must take seriously.
That's why so many leaders do it, and they need it because they're under a lot of stress.
How does meditation help in bringing the best out in those interactions and building a sense of what I call trust and confidence?
Probably the most rapid way of developing trust between people is being vulnerable.
Hi everyone, from Round Glass, this is Living with Sunny. I'm your host Sunny Singh. Today our guest is Dada Nabhaniilananda. Dada is a monk. He's a monk instructor. He's an author. He has done many keynotes and presentations. Dada, welcome.
Thanks so much for inviting me on Round Glass.
One of the things you talk a lot about that. You give a lot of keynotes. You speak at various companies about leadership, mindful leadership, and if you look at, let's just start with the very first basic question I have. How does meditation and mindfulness and leadership, what is the relation? How do we become more effective leaders just because we are meditating and we are into mindfulness?
So I'm going to start by pointing out that many of the high achievers in different fields, a really high percentage, practice meditation. In business, for sure, in sports, in media or the show business, even in politics, it's beginning to take hold. A lot of different fields. That's a kind of validation that it helps them in some way. So how might it be helping them? If you've got a lot of responsibility, which is essentially what the leader's role, they take on responsibility. You want to make good decisions. To make good decisions, you need to be calm, clear-minded. It's really important to have a positive outlook, to have some degree of optimism. The qualities that I at least think leaders really need to have are generally outcomes of the meditation practice, and that's why so many leaders do it, and they need it because they're under a lot of stress. So one of the first outcomes of meditation is it helps you to handle stress, but there's a whole lot of others.
When it comes to meditation and mindfulness and leadership, there is, and this is every company faces it. The chemistry, the dynamics between an employee and the boss. And I don't like to use those words. It's like the leader and a teammate, right? There is a dynamic. And the dynamic sometimes spills over in hard arguments, sometimes to give a hard message. How does meditation mindfulness help from each perspective, from a team member perspective, how to deal with a leader, and a leader's perspective of how to deal with a teammate? Instead of having a subservient relationship, how does meditation help in bringing the best out in those interactions and building a sense of what I call trust and confidence?
I'm so glad you mentioned trust. I think this is so fundamental to, again, communities, families, certainly businesses and teams. One of the ways to develop trust is a mindfulness practice, but there are other mindful exercises that you can do. And one of them is visibly expressing appreciation and gratitude. So this is for top down. So this is the manager or leader. They want to create an atmosphere of trust in their team. If you really show people appreciation for their effort and what they've done and what they've achieved and what they contribute, that really engenders a feeling of trust. Another is storytelling. And again, this is super hardwired into our psyche. We're hearing so much from Yuval Harari and everybody about how storytelling is part of us. It's kind of part of what defines us as humans. If you can create opportunities in a company, in your offsites or whatever, where your team, maybe in small groups, usually optimal about 7, they actually tell their personal story. And no hierarchy, like it's mixed up. And they may find it hard at first, because they may not trust the other people in the group. And this requires a degree of vulnerability. But you can practice it, and telling your own life story and that is showing vulnerability. And one of the probably the most rapid way of developing trust between people is being vulnerable. So it is a very mindful thing. You're being very aware of who you are, who the real deeper part of you is, and you're being willing to tell other people about it, and they feel it nurtures, it makes them feel trusted, and it comes back, in the other direction.
But being vulnerable is not an easy emotion, right? It's not
Oh,
something that comes naturally. Um, does meditation mindfulness help in that area where saying, you know what, I'm comfortable
yeah.
being vulnerable. I'm comfortable speaking out a little bit and showing my emotions and how I'm really feeling.
There is a natural fear of vulnerability, um, and we have to, if we want to build it in a team, it needs to be done in steps. Meditation can help. Singing together really helps, because people are shy about singing, but it's not as bad as getting up in front of everybody and having to speak, right? So it's a baby step. And I found this with a company I worked in New York. It was a startup, pretty small, and they I would chant and meditate together with them, and they started doing it together, and they said, "Wow, this makes us feel so close," and they feel like a family. And when you have that atmosphere, and it's easier in a small company, I know, but when you have that family feeling, it's so creative, and people really feel a mission, and it can produce wonders, actually.
Does meditation and mindfulness help you be more creative, invokes more creativity out of you, helps you become better decision makers, or helps you be a bit bolder in your thinking? Does meditation lend itself as a byproduct for those things to happen?
Absolutely. There's a university in Holland, in the Netherlands, and head researcher, she concluded that there are certain meditative techniques that have been shown to consistently induce creative thinking. My own experience with it is something like this. In this, almost in the same way that this shyness problem kind of fell away unexpectedly, and again related to my music, I was playing piano. I remember I was learning a Beethoven's First Sonata, beautiful piece of music. After I've been meditating a couple of months, I was sitting down at the piano keyboard playing this piece, and it induced. I went into this kind of ecstatic state, and I felt like I don't know. I thought that I was feeling what Beethoven felt when he wrote the music, and my hair was standing on end, and I thought, "What's happening to me?" And I reflected on it later, and I realized there's something in this meditation that's kind of affecting me, and what I found over as it continued is that it really opened up the sort of floodgates of creative thinking in all sorts of different areas. At that time, it was writing and music, but also this can. I mean, I know I have many friends who are coders, and they consider it a creative process. I can't even imagine it because I can't write a line of code. But one of my really great students, he says that his meditation helped him go into this kind of zone, they call in the zone, right, where he's completely focused, and this kind of flow state is another term for it, right? So he was just at his best, and he was like it was happening through him almost. And musicians talk about this, athletes talk about it, and coders. Surprise to me. So this can be cultivated. The tendency, the likelihood of you being able to go into that kind of state where you're at your most creative, where your mind is at its most clear, and you get insights, you solve problems. This is more likely to occur with a good meditation practice. Absolutely.
Now, does meditation make you a better listener? I know the answer. I just want to hear it from you.
For me, I don't know if I'm curable. I talk too much.
I somehow you might talk too much, but I have a hard time believing you're not a great listener. So
I can listen. Yes, I can pay attention. Yeah, listening is definitely. And, and one of the reasons is because your mind is quieter and you're less ego driven. Think about the number of times, well, I'm not sure if this happens to you, but I know it happens to me. You're in a discussion and all these other people are saying stuff and you're just waiting for your turn to say what you think, right? We all do that. So that tendency gets less because you're more self-aware. The ego, the feeling of self-importance gradually becomes less, and you realize that other people have something to contribute as well, and actually they're kind of like you. There's this feeling of likeness, being like other people. We're all self-aware. We all experience love and inspiration and pain, and we really are connected.
This is fantastic. I think, practicing meditation and and through that enabling focus, emotional intelligence, empathetic leadership, compassion. But these are qualities that makes a leader. To have those qualities in you, and meditation, mindfulness, bettering, evolving, creating those qualities in you are very, very key. So I'm so glad to kind of been talking to you about how meditation and effective leadership come together. And I think we can talk a lot more, Dada. This is a topic I think every leader must take seriously. Mindfulness and effective leadership, empathetic leadership. So much more to talk about this topic, Dada. Thank you for being on the show. What a fascinating conversation. What a great conversation I've had with you. Thoroughly enjoyed it. For those of you who want to know more about Dada, I love his website, themonkdude.com. Yes, www.themonkdude.com. Love the site. Please check Dada and his story and what he does. Dada, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Sunny. I really enjoyed that conversation. I'd love to talk more sometime.
Thank you for joining Living with Sunny. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe. See you next time.